I didn't know that.
If you have a TV, you can sit up and stand.
All right, let me just I'm sorry. What's your
There's a few guys. So morning, everyone. Welcome to, because it's Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. Our meeting number 557 here at the Ford Center Conference Center. As I welcome and offer any introductions, which I really don't have. I'm just going to do a little commercial for the Lake Church Battlefield Alliance. I hope you're all familiar with it. The other day, earlier this week, they unveiled the model of the ship Halifax, which was the largest ship made during the Revolutionary War, if I understand it correctly. The Lake Church Battlefield Alliance, which most of you know is occupied space underneath the Park Commission, where they like to say that the Park Commission occupies space over there in the museum area. And the displays there are just fantastic. My information from John DeNuso, the president, is that 2 years ago they were at 60 plus or minus members. They're now at 360 plus or minus members. So if you don't belong, you ought to consider it, and you need to go visit what they've done there for them. And that doesn't count the statues outside that they refurbished a year ago, and the interment area, I think is the correct name for it, of where the remains of the 42 revolutionaries sold. So, send your grandchildren, I did. Now, let's move on to approval of meeting minutes, fiscal actions report. Approval of the meeting minutes of July 2026. So, motion's made, motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. I hear no nays, so that is approved. Approval of the fiscal action report for July 2026.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made, motion second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays, that's carried. A project review action report, Vice Chairman Stanek.
Resolution 2026-30. Accept the project review action report. Whereas the Commission has received and reviewed the project review action report prepared by staff dated August 18, 2026. And whereas the project review committee recommends acceptance of the project review action report, now therefore be resolved that the Commission directs that the project review action report be incorporated in minutes of full Commission meeting. So,
Second.
Motion's made, motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no nays, carried. Mid-season program updates, vote inspection program. Justin? This is the only guy who works. Park commission that really works.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everybody. So, this is a mid-season update, even though Labor Day is like 2 weeks away. So our inspection program is up and running, obviously, and in full swing. We are now into what we internally refer to as angry August. Everybody's been out in the sun a little too much, and sometimes things get a little heated out there, but as always, staff keep it cool and smiles on their faces. And so I filtered through our data that we collect for every interaction and fixed July 31st as the end of the reporting period for purposes of this report. And so far, as of July 31st, which is almost a month ago, we had just under 19,000 interactions through our sites. Of that number, about 6,400 were boats that were launching with a seal. So those inspections are much simpler and faster for the boater. It gets them on the water a lot quickly, and so that's always great. Those are returning boaters. We had about 5,500 boats launched without a seal. So some of those are boats from other water bodies, or have somebody who has previously voted on a Georgia, but for whatever reason did not obtain a seal. And we had just shy of 7,000 exit seals or exit inspections. So those are interactions where we're asking voters to lower their outdrive, pull the bilge plug, and talking about the importance of being clean, drained, and dry. Because, as you know, Lake George does have some invasive species. We certainly don't want to export those to other water bodies in the region. And draining the boat before it leaves Lake George is an excellent way to reduce that risk. So, of the boats arriving without a seal, these are what we consider our full inspection, because we don't know where they were last. We're going to go through this boat with fine-tooth comb. 471 of those boats, or about 8.5%, required some form of decontamination. And we had 67 confirmed invasive species interceptions. And I just had a quick breakdown of what we found. 25 boats with zebra mussels, 3 with brittle naiad, 6 with curly pondweed, 14 with Dragon water milfoil, 17 water chestnuts, 1 quagga mussel, which is not something that we have in Lake George, so that's a excellent catch, and 1 New Zealand mud skip. Don't ask me how I got it. All I can tell you is how it So, I know I threw a lot of numbers at you, but so basically halfway through the season, we are just from my knowledge of our typical annual numbers, we do between 32 and 37,000 interactions a year. We're at just under 19. So I don't know if that means that this is a busier than normal year, or if the bell curve is, we're just kind of already on the downhill side of that bell curve for activity. And so it'll be interesting to see where we end up. And as far as the decontamination rate, that's within a point or two of our average decontamination rate. So it's not a noteworthy number. It's average.
When will the season end for the boat inspections?
So mandatory boat inspection ends Halloween. Regulations require that boats participate in the inspection program from May 1st of each year to October 31st. We will continue our operations. At this point, we'll probably assess around Thanksgiving. It's going to be weather dependent. If the weather stays, moderate, then we'll continue until December 1st. If the weather turns cold and uncooperative, then we'll be closed up sooner. And we will winterize our decontamination equipment as soon as we get consistent overnight freezing temperatures. We do have electric space heaters that we keep under them to keep them out in the field as much as possible, but necessarily not worth the risk of freeze damage. So we'll pull the plug on those, probably first or second week of November, and then we'll keep our inspection technicians on to do manual removal of points or things like that. And then that'll be that.
Do we ever have anybody that actually objects to this process?
Yeah, every once in a while. And usually they're not around here. They're on vacation and they don't know, or they're on vacation and it's been a long drive and the kids have been screaming and they just want to get on the water. So I can relate to that. But we simply remind them, well, how far did you drive to get here? Why are you here and not someplace closer to home? Because it's so much. And usually it's not a problem.
Justin, have things worked out better moving the decontamination from Hewitt's Landing Marina over to South Bay? I mean, is that all leveling out now?
Yeah, I think, I think that was a good move. So, we had an inspection station that we operated at the end of the North End of Bay Road at Dundas Bay. And we also provided training and equipment to the Hewitt's Landing Marina. And the staff there would do inspection and decontamination of boats that were arriving at their launch. And the cost associated with staffing Dundas Bay, with they just didn't do that much activity. During the pandemic, some of the marinas on the east shore in that area kind of transitioned some of their operations away from launches of just people off the street. So traffic through the Dundas Bay site was significantly reduced, so the cost of that was not economic. And so finding one location that could serve a more central location for boats on the east shore of Lake George, so boats that are headed to obviously Hewitt's or headed up towards Gull Bay, upward that way. By moving it to the Whitehall side of the hill there, it saves anybody who's headed up the west or the east side, up north, two trips over the mountain to get this inspection at Hewitt's. And it also was a good opportunity for us to kind of be a partner to the Adirondack Watershed Institute's Adirondack Parkway program. So they had struggled to staff that location at South Bay for years. So it was it was a really good partnership. So they had paid for a storage garage for Orlando. And so they left that for us, which was very generous. And, we installed some other site improvements and we're there 7 days a week from May 1st through Columbus Day weekend. And so we provide better coverage than they were able to. And we freed that decontamination unit that they had sitting there. We freed that up for them to put someplace else in the Adirondack Park. So it really benefited both organizations quite well.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Good job.
Your update.
Now, septic inspection program, Dave Hatton, the guy that's made us successful today, and he's continuing to do it, I guess.
So far.
That's it, we enjoy it. I can see people can do it every day. Can't complain about that. Just give you some year-to-date stats where we are as of yesterday. So far, we've done over 190 inspections this year. We still have about 200 to do that haven't been scheduled yet. People always ask what percentage is failing, so here are the numbers. 24 failed so far this year, that's about 13% of total number of inspections. 84 passed, which is 44%. 28 needed repairs of some kind, which is 29%, and 24 were substandard, which means they have to replace a major component of the system. So your septic tank, which should be overfull. So when we take all those numbers together for year to date, from which we do March 1st, 2023 is the start date for the program. 20% have failed, 40% have passed, 24% need repairs of some kind, 16% are substandard, which means replacement of major component. We have about 18 or 1.6% who have not done their inspections to date. And then we have 13 that have been turned over to enforcement, which is 1% of the total number of inspections. So, which is a lot lower than I thought it would be. Joe did some digging and found out that out of the substandard category repairs or replacements, that approximately 70% of those have been completed over a 4-year period. So right now, as of yesterday, we still have about 873 properties to still do, which will include all of next year as well. 273 new systems have been installed around the lake. It's based on our information in the system. 58 this year alone have been reported to be replaced. We had a benefit to the program as a couple weeks ago. John O'Brien took my place at Queensbury as Director of Building Codes, retired back in May, and I convinced him to come working for us as well. So I did convince me to come work for the Park Region. So yeah, this is a retirement home for. So with the addition of John and the entire staff at the Park Commission, we keep this program going. And it is a team effort, as I always say when I do these presentations. It's not just the inspectors; it takes a team to make this program happen. Some things to note that have been probably more pronounced this year is more people are being proactive about calling us and updating their system. And I think that's where the 58 new systems this year comes into play. So the program, I think overall has been a big success. To do 1,424 inspections, only have 1% that refuse to do inspections. I think it's pretty good. And eventually, Harlan, Joe will be dealing with those in court at some point if they don't rectify the problems they have. So overall, I think we have a good program going, and things continue to grow. We're still doing a lot of crap.
What are the dates that we're operating here?
We start typically around the middle to end of March, depending on weather, because we have to have frost out of the ground. And so far, the last 3 years, we've gone right up to Christmas week. So actually, I did one after January 1st this year.
Late or early?
Yeah, yeah. It's the weather's really dependent on how quick we get going. But so far, we've been able to go a good 3/4 of the year with success.
Anybody else got any comments? Thank you, David. We appreciate it. You notice that at the beginning, I did take the time to explain to everybody in the room what our septic program was, because I anticipated everybody in the room already knows it. That's our call to success. Now, into our project. 5 is a dock modification variation, variance application, Town of Old. Brandon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is a Basin Bay Association. David Sales and Joe Dees are here to represent the association. They applied to extend 3 of their docks, 60 feet each, and that's based on water that's a little too shallow and get some additional full foot length. They're currently at 132 feet, the docks. And like I said, they're asking to go 60 feet, additional 60 feet, and also allow for boats up to 25 feet. Their current bylaws and the permit allow for boats that are 22 feet, and they're measured from the bow of the boat to the actual end last piece of the boat that is when it's docked. So it could be anything, it could be a swim platform, it could be just the stern boat. We did go out on a site visit last week. We noticed some discrepancies in the water depths and some other issues, and we did go back to Joe, David, and ask them if they can make some quick adjustments. They've actually, to their credit, they went out Sunday morning, got some water depths, updated that information, and then also did some quick additional math and drawings. And so you have some additional documents that I handed out, that replace pages 19 through 23 of the binder. The variance that they're actually seeking is one, go out past 40 feet from the mean wall, and also they're already out past 100 feet from the mean high, but obviously they're going to go out additional, so that's also a very needed variance. And so I think basically what we're looking at is I don't know if we'll be able to make a decision, but at least provide them some feedback. And Joe or Dave, you guys are welcome to step up and fill in any gaps I may have left out.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us today. Our application, as you can see, we were originally going out 60 feet, but because of some concerns and some comments and questions that were asked when a few of the board members had gone out there, I think on Friday, they questioned a little bit of the depth of the water and our measurements and how far we were going out, if we can make some adjustments to the size of the slips and just see where the first slips were to start. So I spent the weekend with Dave, the president of the association. We took measurements on Sunday morning at 10:30. We went around every dock, measured everyone again, and then I converted it. You can see on our drawings, on the existing drawing, ES2 and drawing P2 shows the existing water as it exists on our current docks, and then our proposed dock locations where it slips and where the water and how the water, the depths of the water be at each slip. So based on that, when we took our measurements, I would suggest that we look at our first slip starting in about 24 inches of water. So we adjusted the locations of where the first slips start. It put them in a little bit on dock D. I put it in 6 feet closer to the shoreline. And the other two ones are about the same spot. But then we reduced the slips down to 27 6-foot for the first 3 slips. And then the last end slip was reduced down to 25 feet, thinking that we could overhang the docks by 1'3", 1'6", as needed to give space in between the boats. So the reason that we're asking for this extension is twofold. One is we're trying to bring all our, we have an association issue on length of boats. This, how our boats are defined in our documents. So we redefined in our definitions, if we got approved, that we're gonna have 25-foot boats measured from the total length, no matter if it's the bow to the stern, like Randy said, or from the bow to the engine, whatever, the longest distance measured when the boat stops. So we define that well in our association documents. And that limits the size. We need a little bit bigger slip than we have right now. We have 24-foot slips, we're asking for 27'6" slips. The other thing is the depth of our water. Our last slip sit about 16, 17 inches of water, which is really way too low for any boat. But my boat sits in that spot, which is a 22-foot Sea Ray, 20 years old. The front sits on it. Even pushing it out, I have to go people to the back of the boat in order for me to get it out of the spot. So we're just asking to get a little bit deeper waters and a little bit bigger in our boat slips. We're trying to be as respectful as possible to the lake and not push out too far. We're not trying to ask for too much. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Do these new measurements, help us?
Jim, can help you with, like, as far as the concerns they had?
Yes.
Yeah, it actually, it does shorten the dock. I guess the short answer is yes, it does shorten the dock, whether that's, as much as maybe the concerns that the folks that were out there, if it addresses that or not, I'm not sure.
What I help with that is that we did reduce it from 60 to 50 feet. And if you look at our drawing, the last drawing I have in the page, what I did was I put a shoreline from the adjacent shores. You can see that we're in like a cove from Rainbow Beach and from the residents to looking at our docks from the west and to the east. There's a natural shoreline that happens, and then our beach, actually, our shoreline actually goes in like a cove. But if you took a straight line, measure across what they call the natural shoreline, going across road less than 100 feet from Rainbow Beach's shoreline, from the shoreline to the east. So what I feel is that as long as we keep within that, it looks like we're about 80 feet out from that shoreline right now, we would not impede on any boat traffic.
Anybody have any conversation?
We visited the site, Friday, a few of us anyway. My comment is one, is, it's hard to financially justify because you're buying a bigger boat to increase the length of the docks. You go back to a few years ago, Douglas Bay came in and wanted to increase the size of the slips needs because there were people who were buying bigger, wider boats. And that's not a financial justification for increasing the width of the boat or width of the slip. And so we're in this, that into an area where financial justification because you bought a bigger boat, longer dock is not it's not permissible by our regulations or financial justification. The second point is that the distance, and it's nice that there is some measurements of the water depth, and how much feet you need between boats to get in and out, and whether or not you start at 2 feet being at the bow of the boat or in the center of the boat, let's just say you need 2 feet of water from the center of the boat over back. And I think Joe did some analysis also this morning after we were talking back and forth over the last couple of days. And so I think Joe, he came up with kind of like if you don't increase the size of the boat, then it goes down to like 30 feet additional.
Yeah, so it's kind of, couple issues, right? The one, slightly larger boats, understanding that, the effective length overall is 22 feet, but by outboard, the motor takes up 2 to 3 feet, so now you're talking about a 19-foot boat as opposed to actually a 22-foot boat where in shallow waters, boats with, outdrive, an outboard is probably better than a pontoon boat or a small fishing boat or something like that. So one issue is boat length. The other one is, shallow water, right? So it comes in with the application 60 feet, it's a bit of a sticker shock, and you're asking for, bigger boat slips and also safety package between the slips. So I was trying to compartmentalize, let's do the depth, let's, do the slip, what's the safety factor. Yeah, so looking at the water depth, trying to get that 24, that minimum 24 inches, right, roughly 37.5 feet is attributable, of that ask is attributable to water depth on a couple of the slips. On the dock key is 31.5 feet, so the vast majority of the ask is due to water depth. Roughly 12 feet is due to increasing slip size, and then like 1.5 to 2 feet is that extra safety factor that I did before. So one of the things I was suggesting for discussion is to see, if everyone agrees on what's an appropriate depth, that can kind of dictate a certain amount of length for your application. If everyone agrees on what's an appropriate length of the boat, that's kind of another area, and then the safety factors. We kind of compartmentalize those 3 areas and those numbers will kind of help us, as we're working together, figure out, what's appropriate.
I agree with you on your numbers. We're pushing out to that 32 feet, something like that, to be further out for a water depth.
Right.
So I agree with that. That's a good way of doing it. And as far as the boat slips, we're not really asking to buy bigger boats. We're asking to fit our current boats in the right size. So right now we have 24-foot slips, and we say a 22-foot boat. I'll refer back to my boat, which is the first boat that you would see on Dock C. It's actually a 21-foot Seaway register, but when I have my motor up because of water depth, it's an inboard, I'm at 23.6. So right now I have 6 inches to spare in my current slip. So we're not asking for really bigger boats. And then the other boats that are in our association over the years, like people have bought a 24-foot boat, a 22-foot boat that measures bigger. So we're just trying to get everyone in compliance so we can get rid of one of our association issues that we have going on. And it was under concern, but we're just trying to resolve that and make everyone be able to have a decent sized boat. We're not asking for really, we're not asking for 30 footers. We're really, you just see that we're being very, I think, responsible for saying it's a 25-foot measured boat. Measured as long as distance. We're not asking for a 25-foot registered boat. We're really, it's about the same size boat that we have in our association docks now, it's defining it better.
You know, you're right, when you trim that engine, and you have to trim it up as far as it'll go in order to not hit the bottom. You're right, you're going to take another 1.5 to 2 feet.
Right.
That's a good point.
Right.
But I will say that it was very complicated because what we measured with the yardstick like we did, but the water levels for all the docks were different.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if in some cases, maybe the fact that the same boat had gone in there and maybe the hull kind of carved out the bottom. And another thing that was kind of different to realize was you have a little stream coming down.
Well, then, on the left, yeah.
Yes, but I would have thought, we all thought that there would be more sediment, would be more on that eastern side. But that was the dock that was the deepest.
Yeah. Which had a lot of rocks too over there. So you can see that.
Yeah. So,
And historically, that whole area, whole land, was a sawmill from back in the day.
was a what?
A sawmill.
Oh.
So that's in the woods, it was a sawmill.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was all saw, and they must have kept it low so they could bring stuff out, the line out.
Feel free to sit down while we're discussing.
Sit all day. You like to sit down? We're good.
Sure, I don't.
Based on the site visit Friday, I had 4 concerns. One was the water depth. And I thought the numbers were relatively inconsistent, so I wanted to see more consistency in the numbers, which I think you may have supplied, but I haven't had a chance to digest those. Number 2 was the potential for increased length of boat. You argued that effectively to some degree, but I'm still somewhat concerned with that. I'm also concerned with the stream coming in just to the east of the docks, and I think rather than revisit this in another 5 or 10 years, if it silts in again, I think I'd like to see a proposal for maybe diverting some of that flow away from the docks so to prevent this from happening again. All in all, I'm really not comfortable voting on this today. I'd rather see it tabled so I can digest the new information.
Is that?
There was that one here.
Yeah, we've done a lot of discussion on the stream issue, and this is why are we gonna be revisiting this a few years down the road? Not really addressing that problem. It's gonna continue to be a problem for the applicant.
On the stream issue, the sediment coming out of the stream, have we been able to identify any other sources for that sediment coming out through?
We haven't really looked, one of the suggestions Tom made was possibly putting in some sort of vein, rock vein to kind of defer the flow comes out in the spring or heavy events.
Aren't you just maybe somebody else's, so that from somebody else?
It would kick out into the bay more. It doesn't solve the problem with sedimentation overall.
Long-term
experiences for the docks.
And the current flow, that particular dock has good depth. And the way the flow goes, it pushes it out considerably along, towards the middle of the lake.
We never done the dam building business, I don't think.
And I think another part of this issue is with the last authorization, the applicant applying for boats upwind of the main low water mark in areas where it appeared would have been shallow, and maybe was not a good idea to pitch it that way, but I think they're trying to reduce the various races to practical and planning out, or more people or association members are actually putting boats on the docks. I think they've realized that what they pitched 10 plus years ago, can't be realized based on the water.
Interestingly, when we were out there, based on our quick observations, we thought a much shorter increase in dock length would suffice. So I'm not quite comfortable to go to 50 feet and 44 feet right now until I look at it more.
Is there anyone else here who wants to speak on this project, whether it be pro or con? Okay, You had your hand up again.
I just want to address the stream a little bit different. I didn't see any kind of, making it shallow over there, any kind of runoff from that stream. It really does. And I think it has more to do with the wave action, us being at the end of the bay, that's bringing any sediment in and adjusting our water down. I think it has to do with wave action, the amount of traffic, the wake boats that are out there, just people using the bay. And we're at the end of the bay, and if the wind's blowing in from the north, going north, the wave action coming in, the boats. I think that's the goal. It's a bit more than the stream is. I think that's like you said, that side doesn't really get affected. We're kind of protected a little bit with that little peninsula that comes out. I think it protects that side a little bit more. The stream doesn't affect it. I think it more has to do the other side when we're open. We're just getting pushed in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think right now, we can see that, based on Joe and everybody's analysis, that they're dealing with at least a 30-foot increase in the length of the docks. And it's very low whether we want to go to 50 or stay at 30. That's where we're at.
With the new information that we received just this morning, is premature to suggest that we not vote on it, table the project? Or do you want to call it quits?
No, I agree that tabling it, gives them some time to digest it. And maybe some place to get to a compromise of what the actual one should be.
I think that's
If everybody's agreeable to that.
that works out from our perspective.
Yes, just giving us some more time. I had that discussion, Joe.
You could certainly ask me to call for a vote, and I would, but if it fails, I didn't. So would you like to?
Yes, we're happy to table it and have further discussion and any comments. And we'll try to hold the best as best we can.
Okay, well, as a former member of the homeowners association, I feel for you. And also, having recently accidentally visited the boat dealership, you gotta die or swap your wife for that nearly 28-foot boat. How can you live without it? Okay.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Hopefully come back.
You know what you got to, and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for.
Thank you.
Okay, now, item 6 on our agenda is for a tour boat application in the town of Lake George.
That's also me, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This next project is pretty straightforward. The applicant, Bodie Skinner, he's applied to operate a new tour boat, basically an existing Class A marina, which is the Shore Meadows Lodge. He's got a 26-foot long chaparral and plans to take a maximum of 2 trips per day between June and August for 2 weeks sightseeing and swimming. He's basically going to go up as far north as Hewlett's in Northwest Bay, and again coming out of the village. Shore Meadows Lodge is currently permitted for 2 tour boats, and this would be just one of those 2 that they currently don't have. Mr. Skinner, I think if you'd like to speak at all, feel free to add anything that I've left out.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Bodie. I am a 19-year-old college student. I go to Bentley University. Growing up on the lake, and I think it's one of the most amazing things. Just coming here today, I've seen how much you guys all care and are trying to preserve the beauty and obviously the experiences that I've had on the lake are a result of all your hard work. So I really appreciate it. Really, I just want to first of all gain the experience of running a business. I really hope to continue on business throughout my life. I started a lawn company while I was all in high school. There's something out of that, but because of my passion for being on the water, my passion for giving people that experience of being on the water, as I have like with my friends throughout my years living here, basically, I'm really looking forward to hopefully the opportunity to give people the experience of Lake George. And I think that I can do that in a better way than taking out one of these rental boats where they're clueless, they're driving around, they're in the lake zones, so flooding, causing some more destruction. And, just having a guide, I think is the best way to experience it. I think I would say that.
Are you a licensed PV?
Yes.
Commentary?
No. I think we're all set.
A zinger?
One suggestion, the existing marina permit at Short Meadows has a special condition that says all recreational towing shall occur north of Diamond Island. So put in some other tour boats, just so as not to make the village and just more congested with cigar sales and everything else. So that might be one thing may want to consider.
Absolutely. That's condition you understand. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No comments on it? So do we have a motion? Resolution 2026-32 approved by A approval application. Application numbers TB 450 and 5. Application Logan Skinner, Lakeshore Electric Company. Whereas the applicant has applied for a permit to operate a mutual boat at an existing class A that has dedicated slip for turboat operation. The Lakeshore Park Commission has reviewed the application, supporting documents, comments received, and other information is in the record. And the commission has made a determination that the project is an unlisted action pursuant to the State of Vermont Quality Review Act 6 NY CRR 617.5, and as the agency for the purpose of the State Environmental Quality Review Act has made a determination that the project will have no significant impact on the environment. And whereas the action is considered to be a major project pursuant to 6 NY CRR 645-5.3, public notice has been published and distributed consistent with the regulations. And whereas the applicant has demonstrated that the activity complies with both durable requirements of 646-1.4D. And whereas the commission finds that the project will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the central character of the area in which it is proposed, will not lead to congestion in the park, and will not have an undue visual, cultural, or impact on the neighborhood or the park. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Lake Shore Park Commission approves the above application with the following conditions that all activities are done north of Diamond Island. So,
Second.
Motion made, motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Carried. Congratulations.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Pick me up for a ride later. Or something.
Right, so
Moving along. Item 7 is for a dock and boat house application in the town of Dresden.
Also, this meeting.
I am going to recuse myself from this application because I own property in Cook Bay and I don't want there to be any conflict of interest.
Okay, we'll close your ears. Okay,
There you go.
Yes, I just wanted her to.
oh, clear the area.
That would be excellent. You don't have to.
It's always nice to have counsel keep your feet out of the water.
Usually I just sit here, so it's nice to say something.
You know. Finally, Randy, are you still here?
I am, okay, so just want to make a note, this is not a variance application, the applicant is Catherine Green, she's applied for a new dock and boathouse for the sun deck. The subject property is located in Cook Bay in Dresden, property has 291 feet of lakefront and currently has an single L-shaped dock, and based on the lakefront, the property is allowed to have 3 docks or 2 V-shaped docks and up to 3 moorings. In 2023, the previous owner had started a construction on the dock there. They were stopped on an order on consent and later abandoned the project based on feedback once they actually applied for a permit, and then they ended up going with the L-shaped dock that is currently there. After that, and the previous owner. Yes, the previous owner, yeah, that's Mr. McVicker. So the new owner, is applying for the new dock. The application has received many comments regarding visual impact, if the project is built as proposed. Based on the number of comments, received, we decided to bring this to review to the board. And again, it's not a variant application. We did ask the applicant to provide additional drawings and possible alternatives, which they have supplied. And there's also no apparent jurisdiction from the town, APA, DEC, or New York State Historic Preservation Office. I guess that's what we talked about as part of the review process. And there's several folks here. I'm not sure if Chris is going to jump in first or if it's Mr. Borges going to. I know I talked with Mrs. Green and she said that you're possibly speaking, or John.
I'm going to start.
Okay.
We had a presentation ready, you don't want us to present that?
So we weren't aware that you're gonna bring a presentation, we're not really set up for that right now.
We do have a TV, we can do in 1 minute, pass it up, just to go get your visuals as we're kind of talking through everything. I think it would be helpful.
First year on that, I don't know what you have exactly.
I'm not sure I understand.
Visuals of kind of the process we've gone through, some of the information you've asked for, to be kind of support the discussion, and some new information that's come up with the applicant's discussions with adjacent neighbors.
Has it been included in the package that you sent us? What is not, what is different?
Part of it has been, and that one of the versions that was originally explored was explored further and slightly modified.
Is this something you can set up pretty quick?
Yes, absolutely.
But it is a public hearing, I figured you'd want to see a presentation, what the whole history of it is.
Yeah, but we don't want to review everything that's been sent to us again.
Sure.
We've already been
No,
through that. We
understand.
want to see what's in addition to what's already been
That's
presented.
what we'd like to show.
Okay,
So
just things different.
I think if I may, as this is going to be a public hearing, let's have public comment, they have the right to give a presentation. And
Okay,
I think that it's important that they do so.
okay.
Can I just have one question? No.
Yeah, we agree. So this is here one, big picture, we're on our third design. And our client, James Green, has reached out to neighbors, been a lot of, we've seen a lot of discussion on it. We're trying very hard to make everyone happy. And we now have a design we think will mediate everyone's concerns, we hope. And this is the third compliant design by right, no variances, no setbacks required. So we're now on a third design over 6 weeks. To try to get everyone happy. We hope everyone will be happy. We sent this to the neighbors, to adjacent neighbors. We received positive feedback from them yesterday. So we're hopeful this will resolve concerns. We're surprised we're having a public hearing for this, so all three designs are compliant. We have 2 of those designs in it. All I'm going to show you today is a third version, which we think meets everyone's concerns to the best of our ability. And it is a timing thing. We have schedules, doctors put in foundations. They're a year out. We don't get them at one time. We just say, then we're building this thing over the winter. It will cost hundreds of thousands more because it's going to come apart instead of miles over and served. So this is a major, major cost impact. We have 5 people here today. We spent 6 weeks designing this thing. This is a great experience for our client. And our client, quite honestly, feels bullied and beat up. She's in tears on the phone with me. So this is, we really want both to resolve this today. So we'll present it, and we'll open to questions, but at this point, I don't know what else we can do.
Question, are you representing the client or are you representing
The client,
the
Katie
client?
Green, I'm the architect and builder.
Okay,
And so I'm sorry, Mike Finney from the design group.
okay.
So with me is Jonathan Haynes from the design group, Brendan Ferguson, EDP, Michael Borges, legal counsel, and Chris from Dock Doctors. So. And what you'll see today is, we sent a whole bunch of things to you guys to set your different options. Two of them, you have in your packets that are compliant design, but one of them, the neighbor to the north and like, the next one, the neighbor to the south and like. What we're presenting today, we think makes everyone happy. We have received written feedback from both neighbors that they're thank you and they're happy. One said thank you, I'm happy, I think, but I gotta talk to all the other neighbors, which seemed weird. Especially sitting for one of those neighbors. Yeah, please come and look at it. Chris has copies for all of you of this latest version that creates everything. If you'd like to the record, Chris, if you want to give them copies of this.
Mike covered that.
Yeah. Need to talk to the mic. No.
Let's say,
Mike is for the recording,
Does he see the mic?
if he wants to be on the recording,
The room is fine.
but the room is okay.
Yeah, just project, please.
okay, so as you said, I didn't want to get into the history, so I'll brush through this really quickly. Mike introduced the project team here representing Katie and Joe Green. This is the existing construction survey before we started, that's the existing. These are all alternative designs that were explored early in the design process. See, one is combining with the existing LDOT. The issue with that one was the structural stability of the existing LDOT, its type of construction, its ability to support a.
Also, it's variance we're going to require.
And the variance required there. This details that same application. This is a similar application extending off of that existing LDOT in similar capacity. The sun deck would be built above. You see the corner is still clipping and requiring a variance in that location. And our goal in all of these explorations was to get a design that satisfied the client's needs, but also met your regulations and was compliant with what we were doing. This was a later exploration after we received some feedback from the neighbors here, exploring positioning a dock over to the west. And looking at that dock, we spoke with the neighbor who lives here, and she said, absolutely not, I don't want it close to my side either, I think the other spot better. And Katie said, well, the two most interested parties are the neighbors on each side of this. Why don't the two of you talk and come back to me and tell me where you want it, because I really want to talk, but I don't want to see that. So they got together and said, put it in the middle, which is kind of this part property. So at that point, she said, I know you've already done 3 versions of the design, please do another one. We want it to meet these requirements, the size, but we want to be compliant without a variance, and we want it in the middle to try to satisfy these neighbors. This is our previous one that these neighbors, you received all the letters on, so you've seen this package. This is we'll go back to that. It's important thing.
So one of the things that we started ironically with was making part of this to try to minimize additional costs to put a boathouse in something. when we explored this further, Chris, is the foundations piles of this are not designed to accommodate the snow load of a sun deck. So that became an issue. So that's why we said, all right, let's not touch it, let's put it here. And neighbor here doesn't like, no one likes change. It's just, I mean, I've been doing this 34 years. Anytime we build something new, everyone's upset. And then when it's done, everyone's like, wow, how beautiful it is. So we understand change, close. But then here, we also agree, you know, their boathouse is like right here. So can't hear each other's conversations. So we understand why they're not happy. So what we are submitting today is almost full circle, but we detach the structure from the L dock. And to detach the structure from the L dock, so they'll be touching, but they're structurally dependent from as far as the piers that get driven into the thing. And but also we pushed it in so there'd be no variances required. And so that's what we're submitting today. I hope that everyone feels this reasonable. It's a compliant design. At this point, we've done everything we possibly could to satisfy the neighbors. This neighbor is written and blowing. Thank you so much for doing this. And sorry we dragged it through the mud, which we can submit to you. This one said, thank you very much, but I had to talk to anyone else to see if they like it. Which is odd. But what we're saying is, yeah, put it back here, pull it in further so it's fully compliant. And hopefully everyone feels that's about as good as we can get. Show you that.
Visuals again on as proposed. This is the overview of Cook Bay. You can see in all your submitted packages, just about every site has a dock and or a boathouse. And I think from some of the explorations that dock operators did, a large percentage of them are not conforming. These are all materials you're seeing, but this is the project site. That's before, that's an after with the current information we have. For us before. Yes. These are the visuals that were requested by the board. So this is the revised design now. As Mike said, two structurally independent raised docks that come off of that. It's basically creating a U-shaped dock here and allows for the sun deck to be supported completely off this new structure and not engage with the existing dock.
This is fully compliant with variances required. And it does the most we can do to mediate between everyone's concerns. And it's allowed by right. And you know, my client, we asked her not to come today. She, you know, she's been coming to this property, fuels this day. Her family been taking place here every summer since she was a little girl. Her parents saved up enough money to buy a house in this bay, who also used to rent. They live in the bay. There's a lifelong dream of hers to be here. This is a very special place to her. And she feels like the entire neighborhood is against her. And she hasn't even lived here a day. And we can't help but agree it's just unreasonable. And, you know, but I do think the best option is, ironically, it's back to where we started. But, you know, I think that hopefully we feel that this has been an effort to alleviate anyone's concerns, but our clients are ready to put a boathouse in. They're ready to build a house. Spend a lot of money buying a property in Georgia.
One nice thing with this location is there is a natural stone outcropping, as you can see with the grade lines of the 1 foot intervals. It really rises up pretty quickly and kind of tucks it into the bay. That rock, you can see it in the section. Here, you can see that stone outcropping coming down.
So access to the sun deck would be from the actual property, from the
Straight
shore.
from the grade.
It's literally a cliff.
Okay, So it's a bridge.
It's a bridge,
Top of the boat.
kept under 100 square feet, so it's.
I have a question. When we were out there visiting, one of the things that we thought of is, if you go back to the, original proposal for the dock more on the west side of the current L shape. Okay.
104,
The alternative.
Little bit.
number one.
There you go, hold the background. Okay, see that dock right there? One of the things we're thinking about doing is it possible to move it more, to advance it east and use the current access to the L dock to go along the shore to get to that U-shaped dock, as opposed to, or the other option would be is to move that dock east and have the same sort of access point from going to the top of the deck.
We also look at rotating it counterclockwise.
And, yeah, so, and trying to get away
So
from
we have
that.
to maintain boat traffic in here.
Well, that,
Can't block that off.
well, that's the problem, you know, that we're
That's
saying
needed
to
for
compromise,
traffic movement
you'd
through the dock.
lose that access. You'd move it closer to the L-shaped dock.
I don't understand why you would, one, this neighbor's adamantly opposed to anything being close.
Right,
Whether
so
they have a right to that or not.
move
but
the
they-
U-shaped dock closer to the L.
If we move it here, this is a literally straight up cliff.
Right, but you'd be accessing it from, to the top of the.
That can't stay under 100 square feet. Go further out. For that bridge. Now you need a variance for the land bridge. And that disturb the boat traffic into the dock.
Right, I didn't know if they'd use that space.
Yes. They have a right to use.
Oh, yeah,
their
I
dock.
understand, that's
We didn't think it was
trying to come up with.
You can tell someone, we're gonna cut off boat traffic to your existing dock,
I know, we're trying to come up with a compromise here.
which we've shown.
Right.
Which
But
this
I don't-
neighbor is very much in support of, so is this one.
Okay. We'll be your comments about the new design. Okay.
Chris from Doc, Chris is here, I don't know if you want to add any information on this.
Let's go from a dog perspective.
Now we have the builder here. Okay,
Chris. I've got a lot of history with the property going back to McVicker in 1820. I've dove it, I've understood it. I got the surprise call that he had sold it and there was a dock there. You know, I've done it for 21 years. The pile dock originated from Jeff Provost probably 35 years ago. There's a lot of people trying to do the same thing. So this is the first time we've looked at the existing structure and done a past do analysis on can we incorporate it, that type of stuff. One inspection on it's like I wouldn't, if somebody offered to give me the money to build the sun deck and the dock, I'd just walk away. So I said the option is remove it. Not feasible. Or incorporate around it, we look at those options. So basically, the 11th hour conversation with the owner and with your two adjoining neighbors is really a continuation of conceptual 02 that we first looked at this winter with John and I, just is it feasible to hook to it? I still don't love it because whenever we do have lateral ice exposure from wind-driven ices, we do like, and we have a roof structure over it, we do like to connect those two docks at least across the head of the dock. Because we do get basically, when you take two pieces of 8-inch channel and you turn side by side, it turns into an 8-inch item. So structurally, anybody understands the shear load or vertical calculation of that, will understand that 8-inch item is a lot stronger than just a piece of 8-inch channel. So there are some concerns. It's not ideal structurally, given the investment going on top of it, given what I did evaluate for some ice damage that came in this year. Luckily, we've done it so long, we do have ways to tie this structure together underneath the water, even though it's shallow. And we'll probably end up tying this together, so some added brace, some added expense to do this alternative. But at the end of the day, as you guys know, I am only usually here. I try when
there's just some input from the public. Or I did a design wall where Dr. creativity just can't get there in experience. So compliance is my number one thing, and making sure everybody's somewhat happy. Everybody's gonna be thrilled with the outcomes. I've done it long enough, not everybody's thrilled, but do we bring a good common sense approach to the table? And hopefully everybody can get on board with it. Any structural questions, any design questions as far as dock and water, stuff like that, happy to answer that as well.
Is the depth okay there with the new proposal?
Very comfortable with the depth. Okay. Yeah. Trying to slide it in anymore, we are gonna get into that weird ledge. I haven't, I need to just do another in-water layout, we're very thorough, we don't work on surveys. But we have sampled the water depths in the original proposed application that is in front of you. And we have sampled waters here, so I'm comfortable with the depth for the slip and the outbound slip. And I feel we can tie this together structurally underneath the water to make the two structures act differently, but also look like they kind of are designed together.
Looks like you're sacrificing hard slip to stay close to shore. Is that accurate? Correct. And the reason you're not going closer to shore is because you need that depth for the lateral structural support.
Lateral structural support, and then obviously we have this very aggressive, very proud ledge line there that I can't really get up into or come back in, and then we're gonna really fall off tying into the structure. I have to roll into each other. There are two different channel sizes. We'll make it work.
Right.
But I think based on water depth, based on the topography of that ledge drop off on that gravel spot, I think this is as far in we can go. We might be able to play with a foot here, 2 feet there, once I do my actual water layout, to build off from. Instead of a 3-sided dock now, well, as it's proposed on paper, even alternatively where it was moved, if you look at boat capacity, 1 slip, 2 slip, 3 slip. Would have been here, would have been there, now we're down to 1, 2. Kind of takes away from usable slip here, so I think capacity also gets reduced naturally through this design. So this has really been a really pretty busy say, listen, I don't want to leave it in the house and have an emergency. And that's how she's feeling. And I don't think it's right. What they've done. And she's done nothing to try to remove it. And this is what makes everyone happiest. She's giving up supplements, she's giving up slips.
Right.
And she wanted it to attach so that she would have a protected swim area for her children. She now is giving that.
Yeah, so part of just for context, the regulations obviously have design standards, how wide, how high, how big. There's also a general standard that we can't issue a permit if there's any visual impact on the neighborhood or park. In this case, we've got a lot of comments about visual impact in this, area of shoreline, right, kind of sticks out, and then it's concave as you go to the east. And looking at sort of the immediate, the angles, how that's going to be impacted. And it sounds like you guys listened to that and understood that. So I appreciate the design. See what the board has to say, but that's why you're here. That is part of this. It's kind of a subjective standard.
Right, the only thing I have, honestly, I have a problem with is the public hearing, we were told we couldn't make a presentation. That's why I want to go on edge. But now we're doing it, so now we can have a nice talk, and we'll get through it.
Yep.
But when to show up here and be told I can't make the presentation.
Well, you weren't told no presentation.
Well,
You had to say
I looked, so we had no projector, but it was missing.
It's like, this is a public hearing, you want to see the presentation, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, this is something.
The request was to see new information, that's,
Nobody's arguing with the
so, everyone,
Wall here, and then you say about it.
Indeed.
Okay, ladies first. Identify yourself, please.
My name is Victoria Bladner, and I am owner with my husband to the property that would be probably most impacted, but it's to the right of the dock.
The east.
To the east, correct. Gosh, this is really hard. As we said, Lake George is very emotional. It's my dream. I'm a camper here in Lake George. It's my dream to own property, and I bought a house mostly for that boathouse. the historic boathouse that has a beautiful view. And so when I'm not against development, I actually, first of all, want to thank you for all you do. I'm actually the chair of the Architectural Review Committee, the Virginia Lake Community. So I know your position. We've been sued, screamed at, we've navigated neighbors, and when I leave here, I'm going to review a seawall and floating dock application. So I know where you're coming from. And that's, I think, why I approached Katie in a very conciliatory way and said, Katie, I brought you down to the dock. Look, no one would be for this. You are literally blocking 3/4 of the view, the only view to the lake. And we knew the history of the movers. And we didn't think a boathouse would be approved, certainly not for block majority of view. And so the process, I would just say, has been very quick, and I appreciate some of the comments you made in characterizing it, but I never bullied Katie. I've been very conciliatory. And said, you need to slow down, Katie. This impacts all of us, and you need to get more input. And it seems like the predominant thing has been, this is what the Greens want. They deserve it because they have the property. And we need to move forward because we don't get doctors in by October. Like, I'm sorry, it's hard for me to respond to a proposal we just got last night. And for my family, my husband can speak, we did not approve it. I was very careful in my words. I want to thank her because I do appreciate her looking at different options. But it's not like we've had adequate time to talk to our neighbors, or even my husband and I a little bit disagree. It is definitely a little better because it's not right on top of us, but it still blocks 3/4 of our view. And no one would want that if you were in our shoes. So I can't support it. I didn't say I support it. I said, thank you for looking at options. And I will talk to our neighbors, but it's my understanding that it's not just for the people to the west of the thing, there's east of the thing, but other people in the bay. I did try to get together. I heard that Katie got very much yelled at by the neighbor to the west. I didn't like that she got yelled at the neighbor to the west, and I wanted to work together with her. That didn't mean sending a new proposal with 1 day to review and having you vote on it. Of course, my neighbor to the west likes the current proposal. It doesn't impact them at all. But when we talked about a compromise, when we said, can you put it more in the middle of an L-shaped dock, we didn't think it was coming to our side and seal out 3/4 of the view. There are ways. I appreciated one of the members talking about, is there a way to wrap around the other side? I know the people to the west don't like that. But I think they didn't like the very first proposal. It kept the L-shaped dock and then put it right up to their property line. And they're already facing, and what people don't understand, it's not like we're great neighbors. I'm holding an open house. Everyone's welcome. I'm a great neighbor. But, you know, the construction has been difficult. That is very small lot. So the blasting and all the environmental issues we've already been facing, we've been very kind to the village, letting them park on our property. But this has been a lot. And so when Katie got yelled at, it was because the people have been facing a lot of construction problems over there. And so we need some time to come up with a better resolution. I'm sorry that it doesn't meet the timeline of the Greens and builders, but this is not an adequate solution for us. It's still too close, the 2 blocks of view. There are other ways to do it, but it probably takes more time than just shoving it at the night before. So we do appreciate the Greens. We want to work with everyone. We want to be good neighbors, and we'll never bully anyone. And I really appreciate all the work you do.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sir? For identification, you're her husband?
Yes, I am. My name is
My
Mike.
only admonishment was, you know, she said we don't need to hear it.
Indeed. My name is Mike Zares, and I am the husband to Bridgewater. We own that property right next to that lot. The proposed building is going to be proposed. And I will say I am vehemently opposed to this project. It is quite frankly, it's just the obstruction, the sheer obstruction of the view that's going to happen if this project goes forward is just, it'll be terrible. I don't think it's really anything that is, in keeping with the Bay. As my wife said, her family came here all of her life, 50+ years, camping, on Lake George. When I met my wife, in college, guess what we did? We came up here every summer, we camped in Lake George. And we worked hard, and we bought our dream property in Cook Bay. And it is a shame. It is a shame what's happened here. It really is. And it's really kind of devastating. Again, we try and be kind. And there's some things here that really aren't appreciated. I'm not going to go into that. But personally, thank you guys for having this hearing. I also want to thank the Greens too for, I guess, having this and kind of reaching out, I guess. I don't know. I think they're kind of something strange about the way they're characterizing our comments here. But at any rate, I think at best, environmentally, I think this is just not a good idea. Questions of boat congestion. There's already a huge dock on this property. There's already a huge dock here. I'm not sure why more dock space is wanted. It's needed, but wanted. And as a neighbor, like a tall structure adjacent to my property, the view would be completely devastating. And I think a structure that, even if it does maybe possibly meets environmental and the letter of the law, still, there's an issue there when you're talking about view. A structure that meets the letter of the law for height, but will have tall objects on top, umbrellas, furniture, which would make it even taller than the impact allowed by a building, will further obstruct the view. And I know our neighbors down the bay, they have written to you. They have commented, and they understand how devastating this is going to be as well. I think shoreline degradation is really an issue here. Mr. Rath, I personally sent you some pictures, email of a cliff face where stone was blasted or carved out with a rock pile landing at the water surface, jutting out from the water surface. And this kind of stuff, I just think is ultimately at the lake as well. And I know the sheer size of the structure really is, it's kind of an abomination too, I have to say. And we've been here before. The previous owner wanted to build a boathouse. He abandoned that. I think that's significant here, ladies and gentlemen. There's already a huge dock here. The previous owner wanted to build a huge structure. It was abandoned. And he built a large dock, a nice large dock. A beautiful dock. Still imposing, but he built a dock. That is the property that the Greens purchased. A property with a beautiful dock. And now this, if you look, this configuration, which we only saw yesterday, by the way, no one approved this. My wife did not approve this. Which we only saw yesterday, by the way, no one approved this. My wife did not approve this. I did not approve this. Okay?
Well, I mean, to insinuate otherwise is not correct.
Time,
This, right here.
sir, my rules. There's no interaction with anybody except me
Yes, sir.
in this conversation.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate your comments, but you gotta wind it up.
Okay. This configuration here, my dock is right here. So every time a boat backs out of here, that boat is gonna be backing out and throwing a huge weight on my dock. And every time a boat comes in here, it's gonna be going right in front of my dock. This is not better.
There are places
It's
down
not
Lake
good.
George, there are places down Lake George where that's a necessary evil
Yes, sir.
on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
I understand
that. This is not the place. This is not such a place. It doesn't have to be here. If anything, it should be way over, much further less. But I'll leave my comments there.
Thank you.
Again, I think the,
Your comments are appreciated.
appreciate it.
Who else would like to speak, knowing that what our rules are? This is great.
I have a comment.
Okay, but you need to make people.
Somebody gonna speak?
Yeah, let's hear from her.
I'm sorry, I thought.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Oh, hi, my name is Jane Lavondar. Thank you for having us. Are we allowed to ask you questions? The board? My question is, I'm confused. I thought on the agenda, today's resolution was for application DWM 26-00080. That is the application in Boathouse proposal that I spent the last month reviewing, not this. So that's, I thought, what we were here to comment on and vote on. Am I right, or is there something else taking place that I am not prepared for? I guess is what I'm
How
asking.
does that fit in?
So, yeah, we welcome your comments on the original application. It sounds like the applicant's listening to the neighbors and the comments and trying to, find some middle ground. But yeah, we welcome your comment. Obviously, you haven't had time to digest this, so we welcome whatever comments you came prepared to provide.
Okay, first I'm going to respond to some other comments that were made. Yes, my grandparents saved up money to buy a house on Lake George. This has a generational impact. I'm third generation. He was a special place for us. My grandparents lost a son in the Vietnam War. My grandfather was laid off from the railroad. He built his own plumbing company. We all have our story. Lake George is special for all of us. No one story is more important than the other. No one's grief is more important than someone else's. Number 3, yes, everyone has a right within the rules of the lakes, regulations, but no one is entitled. Okay, number 4, my question is, what is the rush? Why does the dock need to be built now? Victoria made some good points about taking our time. Are you gonna go boating? Is the client gonna go boating in November? And Michael brought up a good point about the umbrellas. There's a boathouse over at Helix. They think that was built a couple years ago. It was constructed parallel to the shore. And the first year, here we go again. But it's cool. There's a platform. People are diving off of it. I wanted to get up there and jump off. Yesterday, I went paddleboarding by it, and now there's umbrellas on top. And it sticks out like a sore thumb. All right. Having said that, I'm not going to reiterate what is already on record. I trust that you all have read the emails we submitted. Instead, I'm going to ask, what is the purpose of the Lake George Park Commission? The purpose is to implement the legislative intent of Section 430101, which is where the legislature hereby declares it to be in the public interest to preserve, protect, conserve, and enhance the unique natural scenic beauty and to promote the study of the history, natural science, and lore of Lake George in the area near or adjacent thereto, and to provide means whereby owners of real property near or adjacent to the lake may preserve, protect, and enhance the natural scenic beauty of the lake and its surrounding countryside, and regulate the use of the lake in the area near or adjacent thereto for appropriate residential, conservation, health, recreational, and educational purposes. We've all provided examples in opposition to the proposed boathouse that supports this legislative intent. Individually and separately, we provided evidence of how this boathouse will adversely affect recreational safety, the unique natural scenic beauty of the lake, as well as the conservation, health, and recreational preservation of the lake and the surrounding environment. We even provided lake lore. Isn't it the Park Commission's regulatory mandate to protect these interests? Why can't the applicant achieve the intended use of the bay while complying with the existing conditions? There may be a reasonable alternative that accomplishes the applicant's purpose with less impact. They already have a dock. They already have a stairway cut into the rock. There's already holes drilled into the rock where a steel beam once hosted a boat for the previous owner. The infrastructure already exists for them to utilize their lakefront. There must be a creative alternative that is aesthetically pleasing and preserves, protects, conserves, and enhances the unique natural scenic beauty of Lake George. I'm here to just ask that you vote no to the proposed boathouse that is under consideration, not referring to this one, and vote to implement the intent of the Lake George Park Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make it brief. I promised you a long time ago you speak.
My name is Mary Beth Aiken Haddock. I did not come with anything prepared today, so I'm just gonna wing it. But in a perfect world, everyone here would somehow come to an agreement and we could walk away and everyone would be happy. Unfortunately, this is a very emotionally charged topic. We own property in the bay, 2 parcels east of the project in question. When we submitted our comments, there was a rebuttal because our concern was the visual impact. But I just need to tell you that drone pictures shooting shots from what would be a 30-foot high tree is not a legitimate representation of what this structure would do just visually to our property. Last 2 years ago, when they proposed the original boathouse, it frightened all of us in the bay. Not only us who are pretty much situated, kind of centrally located in the bay, but even people to the left of us as we look out. That would have been an enormous impact. So were we thrilled with the size of the L dock that was installed? No. But it was an alternative that we felt we could live with. When you sit in our cottage of quite a distance from the water, you can see that L-shaped dock from every single window in our home. And to construct a structure of that magnitude, the boathouse, which from what I'm looking at will at least extend down 50% of that L shape with a structure that is higher. It is going to have a catwalk coming off from the land. I oppose it so much every day that we sit there. I guess what I'm trying to say is those drone shots that are in your packet, they are not legitimate. They are not legitimate as to what that visual impact will have on us and the adjoining property owners. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
I'm Stephanie Aiken Copeland, and I spent days, weeks, and months at 2731 Sheet Meadow Green. We spend Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we go in the winter, and we are there for Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday, and we are there the whole time. It is a home. Our parents lived there, and we have continued that. It is non-conforming. Spend time in the bay. The Camitos built a boathouse that is low and it is tucked in. All the boathouses from the southernmost structured boathouse. It is tucked in. You don't notice it. Every dock and every boathouse in Cook Bay is in front of the owner. These structures are in front of the neighbor. From every room in our house, you look out and the water is abruptly interrupted by a man-made structure. We were thrilled that we can still see Tongue Mountain because it's only a dock. When it becomes a 15-foot, 11-inch boathouse with umbrellas and high tops and everything else that you put on there, our view of Tongue Mountain is going to be drastically interrupted. It is non-conforming. The 100-year-old boathouse that is present today, designed and built 100 years ago, is tucked around the corner. It is lower than a ledge. It is not a Gilded Age structure. I feel that I have experienced trauma in Cook Bay in the last 10 years. From septic leakage to the original boathouse to fighting a marina. A real marine was going to apply. To the mining of Gardner Point, the blasting of the edge of the ledge, and now the proposed 15-foot, 11-inch boathouse. I also am adamantly opposed to this. And I also want to say that knowing my personality, I did not contact the Greens because I know my personality. My communication has only been with the Lake George Park Commission. And everything that we wrote was to the Lake George Park Commission first, and then it was presented to the Greens. I will not accept somebody calling me a bully. I did what was legally asked of us from the Lake George Park Commission. And you have to accept what comes your way when you apply for an application. And compromise, I do not see compromise happening. We are not lowering the boathouse. We are not taking the sun deck off the boathouse. It is the same exact structure that was designed, and it has not changed. I just think that my niece was right when she said Article 43-0101 states the intent of the Lake George Park Commission. I think that we all should read it: to preserve, protect, conserve, and enhance the unique natural scenic beauty. That cliff, that ledge was for 30 years. 40 years, my kids are in their 40s. To go over there and see the turtles on that rock face was part of the daily living with my parents. There are no turtles. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, anybody else? Counselor?
I don't want to jump ahead of anybody else who wishes to speak, but I just wanted to wrap things up from the applicant's perspective. Is there anybody else?
Wrapping up.
Well, I think it's great that this hearing has provided everybody the opportunity to come forth and speak about the application. As the last speaker just identified, it is the same application, just different locations. So the notice that was provided initially brought people's attention to this application, and the difference in location has already been identified by the design team as accommodations. But every one of the designs have been sent forward to Randy here at the office has been a compliant application. And when I say compliant, I want to remind everybody that the regulations that we're trying to follow here came from the legislative intent. When the Park Commission was created, that's where all this derives from. And I'm trying to be very understanding and sensitive to the issue because I believe everybody is speaking from the heart. That's clear. These are raw emotions. These are deep connections with the bay and with the lake that they're espousing. So what I'm hearing is correction may be something to entertain at the legislative level, where the regulations may need to be tweaked for the future. But my client has a right to what is there now. Jesse's property rights. She's, as Mike Finney has outlined, has been over backwards trying to accommodate everybody. This, present application was not her first choice. This is quite an evolved thing. As Mike said earlier, what else can she do? We're not looking to continually have it designed and redesigned and tweaked. We think that this design team spent hours and hours and hours evaluating everything. This is a fair and reasonable proposal for making a change. The opposition that we've heard from doesn't want that there at all. They were objecting to the dock that was put in. The cliff face is going to look different with something in front of it. And as the house is being built, it's putting salt in those wounds. We understand that. My client was so emotional on the phone, I did instruct her not to come because it would just be a tear fest. She's very upset over all this equally. She doesn't want to destroy anybody's enjoyment of the lake. Her kids are the fourth generation, just like every story. We all have these common ties. But as our society has evolved, we have things like government and agencies of the state that have been created to try to allow people to operate in a reasonable fashion. And I think the standard that we're asking you to evaluate here is a fair and reasonable one. And we think the applicant has more than met the test of trying to make accommodations to appease. But it doesn't mean that they can be deprived of their rights. And that's the fundamental issue. So we ask that you consider all that's been put into this on all sides. We understand that we're not going to make the neighbors happy with any construction there. But we do have a right to go forward with construction. So we'd like to bring some closure to this with a vote today.
Thank you.
It's not a second. The Lake George waterkeeper asked me to read this. And that is up to you if you want to permit me to read this.
Why don't you just hand it to Randy and file?
I can.
Are there any relevant issues from the Lake George Authority?
Excuse me?
Well,
Yes,
well, no, issue.
so his first was about the legislative intent. The second was about a short environmental assessment form, and was wondering why that short environmental assessment form was not present. And third, because of its size, he wondered if the size fit all of the proposed, did it need a variance, is basically the question that he asked.
When are those comments prepared?
They were prepared this week.
Why don't you just give that to Randy, please? Be part of the file. Neighborhood issues are the most difficult thing in my 20 years on this board. And the toughest part about it is you rarely ever have everybody going home. I think we're going to poll the board to determine whether we're going to put a vote to it today. You can let me know whether you have a strong feeling for a vote, or if you think there's an alternative suggestion.
What are you voting on? Sorry. Is the comment period over?
Speak up.
I think it's time for the commission to discuss.
Yeah.
And, you know, the public has spoken, and at this point, it's time for the commission.
Would like to start over there. You.
Okay, I'm confused as to the lawyer's presentation that this doesn't require a variance because the scenic effect of this is not.
It doesn't require a variance, however, under 646-1.6, because there's potential undue visual impact, there's been significant comments, it goes before the commission, but it is not a variance. They are applying for like setbacks.
But that is, even though it's not a variance, it's significant for us to consider and required for us to consider.
Correct, under the regulations.
And what is our decision? If we say yes, or if we say no?
If you say that there is a significant undue visual impact, then you can determine that you deny the application. If you find that it's not significant, unfortunately, defining significant.
We're not agreeing or disagreeing with the project, or denying or accepting the application. Is that right?
On the visual impact portion of it, I don't know, Joe, if you.
But I think that's the only reason we're here.
Yes.
And if we discuss the application, are we discussing what was presented to us in submission, or are we discussing what was just presented this morning? So procedurally, what we would do when we get a significant modification to an application is go back out to public notice.
There.
So that's what we did. That's what we always do, right? Significant change. We go out to public notice, so that way it's not, hey, the neighbor told me it was okay. It's that, you know, the neighbor has comments, they provide those comments to us. Again, if significant concerns come in, then it's back to the board. If there's a modification, it goes out to public notice and the neighborhood writes back and says, yeah, that's good, or it doesn't bring up something that, you know, appears substantive. It doesn't require board approval at that point if there's a modification that doesn't appear to have. So at this point, it seems like, you know, the applicant, you know, thoughtfully, you know, listen to the comments, provide the modification. So our next steps would be to send this back out to public comment. So unless you guys are looking for a vote, yea or nay on the original application, I would think at this point it seems appropriate to table it, but I'm looking for you guys, so that way we can evaluate the other.
I guess absorbing all this information and one of the items I was thinking of is possibly a change to the design where in fact they remove the L-shaped dock and put the other dock right where that was.
Without a vote.
With the boat house. And I mean, no matter where you put it on that land, there's going to be complaints about visual impact. And I think that the landowner deserves to have a dock with a boat house. So it's a matter of trying to minimize the visual impact. And the only area that I can see is either remove the L-shaped dock on this thing right there, and put the boathouse right there, or possibly moving it to the west a little further. And that kind of, that's the best you can do. Otherwise, you move it too far to the west, which they already did, and the applicant on the other side said, hey, move it. And if you move it into the east, of course, it's a problem. So you got a very narrow area which you can put this down, right where the L shape is, or slightly west. One of the other two are the only, that's the only options I see right now. That's my take. And people that visited with us, you know, we enjoyed the ride by boat. And we can comment too. You want to go there?
Well, my only comment would be, since this is such new information, I would be more interested to hear what the comment would try it. So I think going back as opposed to stuff. So not acting on the current application.
Based on the site visit, I was supportive of the location west of the existing L dock, probably angled counterclockwise to soften the impact to the neighbor to the west. Nothing I've heard this morning allays my concerns regarding visual impact for properties to the east. So at best, I would vote to table. At worst, I would vote to deny.
Yeah. Okay. We need to talk more about this at table.
So look at the new information. And then you just want.
Council, you raise your hand, I gave you my finger. This one, the famous basketball.
Exactly, WNBA style. It's obviously a lot for us to digest, because we came here thinking that we were appeasing, and we're hoping to get a permit today. Listening to the poll that you took of the commissioners, I just want to make a comment, Mr. Thuman's comment. I'm not sure that the notice provision is required under the law. I recognize and appreciate that this is how this commission has always done it, to renotice a change. But every other planning board submission I've ever seen takes with it the fact that if there's a substantial change made, the public is on notice. So I don't know that that's necessarily a requirement, but I will concede that the commission has adopted that standard. So that adds weight to the tabling motion, which we're prepared to accept if that's still offered. We really wanted to have a vote. Timeline is tight. If this is tabled, can we be sure this will be on next month's agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a couple weeks to submit any changes.
Speaking to that, every once in a while we get blindsided. It's very difficult for the commission to act sometimes. I'm not mentioning this just for the benefit of the people here. I want the world to hear with last minute changes. The Monday morning fax to Randy with a different direction to take it. And I wasn't close enough to the account in the beginning to know whether that was a factor or not. But and my good friend Mike was scared of the fact that he thought we were going to deny the presentation. There's usually a courtesy to the board, to our mechanics, say we're going to present, and we give you all the time and all the screen that you want, anytime. We just need more than a minute's notice. Sure. My take on the whole project is that if you ask for a vote today, I think I know what the vote's going to be. But if we table it and you re-energize it, I hate to spend somebody's money blindly, but that's the price of admission, I guess.
Well, we would request the tabling and we would request the AV assistance for the next time, so we can present modifications to the full commission.
And that would be the end of today's conversation.
Could I
Of course, Mike. I want to let you all know that my issue with this as independent has nothing to do that these two guys right here, their parents are my peers and my neighbors. I watched them grow up. I'm actually very proud of you being here. I don't know why. I saw you as children.
My father served on this board for many years. I can say that, I hope everyone understands we're going through great lengths to try to make everyone happy.
Right.
Okay, and my feathers definitely got ruffled when I was told I couldn't present today. We didn't want to bother you with worrying about this, and half the time it doesn't work, and everyone's fumbling around, and it's a disaster. So we bring our own television, and we know it works, it plugs in 5 seconds. So there was no disrespect intended there. I hope you understand, I felt very disrespected.
That's innovative.
So I'm glad we could present, and everyone can see what we're trying to do, okay? We understand there's new information. We thought people would be very happy to show what we did today, because this is very reasonable, and it would be reasonable to ask for a vote. And the reality is when you change anything, people are gonna be upset. But people have rights. We have multiple compliant applications here. This is an open air boathouse, you can see under. There's about 4 feet that's gonna block your view, and it's allowed, the rules allow it. With 3 different options that are all compliant. If we table it and you wanna talk, but pick one.
Sorry, okay.
So
Bring this conversation with you the next time.
we will.
Because your passion is.
And I'm just trying to, this $5,000 for me, you got my client. You got 4 or 5 high priced people. I understand it doesn't matter to you. Okay, but it matters to my client. And we're trying to be reasonable. And I hope everyone sees that. And at the end of the day, that right there, that was with, that visual is that frame, and that's with it pushed right against it. What we've done is rotate and push it further away, so we'll update all that stuff. If we weren't notified and we were going to the site Friday, I would have been there myself. We had no work scheduled that Friday. We've tried to be good neighbors. We did the blasting as early in the season as we could. We know that's disturbing. We know it's a tight site. But you guys know what I built. In the end, it's going to be beautiful. And it will be appropriate. And it's allowed. And, you're gonna see their view under this boathouse, their view to the cliffs. Because it's further away and rotated now. So there's no impact. Oh, hardly very, I mean, it's an impact, obviously, it's a change. But we're really trying. So we're happy to take another month and get everyone's confidence. But at some point, we gotta move forward here.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Could you take a look at, talk to the owner, but replacing the L-shaped dock that's there?
Well, I can tell you right now, that's a non-starter.
But move the current
It's a
new
non-starter, it's
design,
$100,000 worth of construction time to rip out. It's a pure foundation. That's just unreasonable.
Okay, I'm just trying to.
Who's gonna pay for that?
I'm just doing a compromise here to try and.
I understand, but that's not a compromise.
Okay.
That is penalization, it's just a hardship that would be, so I won't even ask for
Okay.
Can I just ask one quick question? Have you?
No, you can't do that. You can't do that.
The council has asked us to table the project,
so I just want to make sure.
Granted that to the council. And this is part of the meeting is adjourned. Any comments that you have, resubmit. Randy, Joe, guide the process through. And you'll be able to write your comments down. Because if you're coming here next month, we'll be here and you can start from 0 again. So you can get your minutes back.
Yeah,
Just like
we understand.
Continuing to talk.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Why is he talking?
He's the applicant.
I'm allowed to. All right. We're happy to have here everyone's comments. We really thought people would clap today, like, thank you for doing this. That's what we expect.
So I want to make everyone happy. That's my job. That's what I do. I never refer to you guys for anything. I've been here once for a contentious thing. Once in 34 years. So it's like, let's get all the facts and please go. Next one. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, everyone.
Thomas Levon, should be back in and do the law enforcement committee report. Kathy?
No.
Item 8, law enforcement committee report.
Okay, the law enforcement committee met at 9:30 this morning, and Joe Johns gave a very inclusive report. First of all, our new patrol boat should be here next week, and we're kind of excited about that. And we had a little bit of engine trouble with boat number 107, but the guys fixed the lower unit with some spare parts, and hopefully, we'll be able to get a boat from Parks next year. And Joe's got it all figured out, how he's gonna shuck and jive with the engines in the boat, but, you know, I trust him dearly, it's all figured out. And one thing he did say is Yamaha engines are well worth a little bit of extra money that they cost. They really hold up for hours, thousands of hours, really. And the Netflix security patrols will be this week and next, and we've been just about done. The postseason patrol starts the Tuesday after Labor Day. There will be 2 boats during the week, and there will be 3 patrol boats out on weekends until Columbus Day. And then Joe gave us a incredibly very detailed report for the month of August on the patrol's activities and the incidents to which they responded. And they're out there, guys. They're out there keeping everybody safe on the lake. There was no executive session, and then we adjourned. Is there any additions or deletions to what I just reported on? Okay, then I will read Resolution 2026-34, meeting 557 for today, August 25th, 2026. Whereas the Law Enforcement Committee met on August 25, 2026 to review matters pertaining to the Lake George Park Commission's Marine Patrol and the Commission's Law Enforcement Program. And whereas active law enforcement cases and their status were reviewed in executive session, we did not have them today. So get rid of that. Whereas the Law Enforcement Committee has reported on the results of that committee meeting at this full commission meeting. And whereas the Law Enforcement Committee recommends acceptance of this month's law enforcement report. Now therefore be it resolved that the commission accepts the report of the Law Enforcement Committee. I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks.
Hearing that. Item 9, was that on or back off?
We moved that from the agenda.
You deleted it from the agenda. Item 9 is deleted. Leaves item 10, which is public comments. Very candidly, if you have something.
I do.
Something, I'm gonna say short.
Short. 7 sentences.
Your passion is that.
7 sentences, yes. And I don't need it. The visual impact study is not a realistic representation of the impact of the existing dock or the proposed boathouse on the neighboring properties. People are not 20 feet in the air when they are looking west from their properties, and we're all looking west. The drone shots
are a misrepresentation of the true picture. Horizontal shots would show the impact of the boathouse's actual height with railings, umbrellas, tables, and my personal favorite that I dislike completely, lights on the view of the lake.
You made me make a mistake.
Huh?
You made me make a mistake.
I
I
made
don't
you
like
make a
making
mistake.
mistakes. The applicant is not here to hear your argument. I thought you want to tell us what the job that we're doing.
Sorry.
Same here.
I will send this paragraph again.
Yes.
I will send this paragraph again, and I will tell you, I am embarrassed that this is my first Lake George Park Commission meeting. You are amazing. You ask good questions.
See, that's what I thought.
And I will say this to you, I am embarrassed. I said to my niece, my God, we should be coming to each one of these meetings. It was.
Third Tuesday every month?
I will see me here. You don't want me here, but I will be here. Thank you very much. Oh my God, I'm telling you, I'm embarrassed that I have not come up.
Because it's free, you know, most.
I know. What do you mean great? And James. And I'm just saying that my father would be very proud that 4 women in his family were here to represent how we felt.
Are there any other friends of the park commission that have? Won't bother me. I'm getting old, and can't Irish, you know, so. Anyway, then I'm gonna go to the next item on the agenda, which is move to adjourn. Do I have a motion? Do I have any conversation? Do I hear all in favor?
Yes, we do.
It's carried. Yeah, we have. We're done. Thank you, everybody, for everything. We can empty a road faster than who knows what.